CSRs are the most underrated employee in your business. Most business owners think they're good at answering the phone, but in reality, they're the worst.
Yeah, so I listen to a lot of voicemails from plumbers, and a lot of the times it's just like, leave a message.
They don't even say the name of their company?
No. It's either that or there's nothing.
When I first started my business, I was the one answering the phones and scheduling all the calls. It was an absolute mess.
Most guys don't realize that you'll actually make more money when you hire a CSR because you have more time to be a technician.
My business exploded when I hired a CSR. I was finally able to finish a job without being interrupted by a phone call. What's up, Joel?
Hey, Jared, how's it going?
It's going good. How are you?
Oh, man. Doing pretty good.
Dude, it's actually nice out today.
Oh, my gosh. It is. I went outside to come over here, and I was like, whoa, it's like hot.
Yeah, why do you have a sweatshirt on?
Because it's cold in this office, which is fine.
That's how I like it.
I know. Yeah, it was, my wife was sitting outside, and I was talking to, one of our employees up in Alaska. And then I think Isaac said something, and then Ayla was like, isn't it nice that we're here right now? And it's like 70 degrees, whatever it is today. Just warm.
Not 20 below.
Oh, gosh.
Super nice.
Super nice.
Yeah, cool, dude. Yeah, it's real nice. Super nice. That's me not listening to you again.
That's okay. I'm surprised you put your spoon away. You had a second. Is that your new spoon?
That was my second spoon.
Yeah.
I haven't carved another one.
Yeah. When are we gonna launch the Jared Williams store?
Dude, I really want to get like some actual like wood carving knives.
Uh-huh.
And I think I mentioned this before. Sit on my porch and carve spoons.
Yep.
This is my idea. I'm going to start a TikTok channel. Another one. That's just me carving spoons. And I was like, cool, I'll get into like wood carving. And have you ever heard of Rhett and Link?
Yeah, but I don't know what that is, but I've heard those names.
So they're like, I don't know. They became like internet famous. They still do their show. It's like something... I don't know. Can't remember the name of it. I haven't watched them in a long time. But they were the first ones to kind of do like the Taco Bell drive-through song. Like they kind of invented that. And then they got real famous, did a bunch of commercials for like Wendy's and all these people. Their show's pretty funny. They have this one like song they wrote about, what is it? I'm a thoughtful guy.
Yeah.
Everybody listening, go to YouTube and just look up Rhett and Link, I'm a thoughtful guy. Some people will think it's funny. Some people will be like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen, right? Because I've showed it to other people like on the job site.
Yeah.
Like other people that I worked in, they were like, I
don't get it, man.
I don't get it.
This isn't funny.
Anyway, part of that, in that thing, they're talking about, I'm a thoughtful guy. And he's like, one of his things is like, I think about space and the vastness of it. I think about cake and how much I love it. You've probably heard me say that,
Yeah,
right?
I think so.
There's one part in there where he talks about how he thinks a lot about if he could just start whittling now so that he could practice his whittling skills so that when he gets into the old folks home, he can out-whittle all the guys in the old folks home.
Yep.
It's a really good line.
Yep.
Every time I think about whittling, that's what I think about.
Yep. And then you're like, dang, that's actually a good reason to whittle.
So I was thinking, like, if I can practice my whittling, well, then I can out-whittle everybody in the retirement home. But... then I started to think about, what am I going to whittle? Yeah. And so I went to YouTube and I looked up like what people whittle. And it's the dumbest stuff. Like they whittle little characters.
Yeah. They're
little
nerds,
figurines.
man. They're whittling like dragons and junk.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
Come on. You should whittle like wood versions of Milwaukee tools.
No, I'm only going to whittle.
You're not even going to, you just got hard know that? Come on.
Then
you can sell it in the Jared Williams store.
No, I'm only going to whittle spoons. That's it.
I guess
I'm going to master whittling spoons.
You're going to get bored.
Maybe I'll go for a fork. I mean, I'll do a fork.
Seems hard.
I'll do a knife, a fork, a spork, and a spoon.
Yeah. Wait, hold on.
That's it.
I like, instead of calling it spork, I like to call it spoon.
That's a dumb.
Just say it. Just try to
dumb dad joke. I'm not even going to try and say it.
It's actually fun. Spoon.
Yeah, okay. So what are we talking about today?
I hope everybody listening to this is now trying to say spoon.
Foon.
No, spoon. You got to put a P in there.
Nope. Not doing
It's probably one of my favorite words to say. Before we get into our topic, which will be CSR focused. Correct?
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Totally.
We were about to launch into a conversation that I think is relevant to anybody who's operating on the internet.
Okay.
On your TikTok channel, people say a lot of mean things to you.
Yeah.
And So tell me about, because we were just about to talk about this, how there is a disconnect between reality and people on the internet.
Oh, yeah.
Because the idea is like you put out a TikTok video. What was that video about?
It came out today. It was just me going over our phone script.
Right.
And somebody posed the question of like, because I had a video about a diagnostic fee, and one of the guys was like, hey, how do we, and this actually ties into our CSR conversation pretty well.
I planned it that way.
Thanks, man. You're good, dude. You're getting good at this podcast.
Just say it with me. Spoon.
Okay. He posed the question, the video was about having a diagnostic fee, or a diagnostic charge is what we call it, and why you would have one. And the reason is just to weed out customers who aren't serious about getting their plumbing fixed. So there's two things. Like, there's customers out there that are just calling around, getting people to their house, and then they're going to choose the one who's the cheapest. So if you want to play the race to the bottom to be the cheapest, then go ahead and serve that customer. But if you want to actually make money with your business, right, then you can't serve those customers anymore. And so they're wasting your time. So when you're small, you have to weed them out because you don't have that many opportunities, right?
Right.
When you get much larger in your business, then you can say free estimates.
Sure, yeah.
Because you can absorb that, right? You have that economy of scale. When you're starting out, man, it's important to like weed out the bad customers, okay? So you want to attract as many of the good ones as you can, and you want to have a small charge to go there, look at the job, and give them a solution and a price for it.
Right. Real quick, I think it's important to remember that charge isn't to make you money.
No, it's literally just to get those people who are trying to get, 3 free estimates.
Yeah.
To stop calling, to not have you come out to their house.
Yeah, because I've heard some really complicated pricing structures where it's like, well, it's this much money to get me to show up, and then after that, it's this much. Like, they're trying to factor that call-out charge into their profitability, but that's not where it lives.
No. So what we do is we waive the charge if we do any work.
Right.
So, and the cost of the charge needs to be enough to weed out the bad ones, but not enough to scare away the good ones.
Right.
And it's different in every market.
Right.
Some markets, $49 works really well. I tried $49, it wasn't enough, so we went to $96.
So it wasn't 96. Enough because you kept getting in front of the wrong customer?
We kept getting in front of customers who didn't want to do business with us, who weren't serious about getting their plumbing fixed. And the $49 wasn't a big enough of a charge to scare them away.
Gotcha.
So we went to 96, and it worked well, so we just leave it at 96. We have no reason to change it.
Gotcha.
The other kind of customer you have to think about that's calling you that you kind of want to avoid, there's customers. Let me ask this question. I can't ask you that because you don't want a plumbing business, but for the plumbing business owners listening to this, ask yourself the question, how many times do I get a phone call from a customer and it's an absolute emergency? It's extremely rare. Most of your calls happen because the customers had a nagging plumbing problem that they've been dealing with for a long time, and they haven't wanted to do anything about it. They hate their kitchen faucet, and they've been wanting to get it replaced for a long time.
Right, yeah.
But it hasn't been a big enough deal to overcome the hassle of looking up a plumber or calling a plumber and getting them out to their house, right? That's a hassle to the customer.
Definitely, yeah.
So there's customers out there who they may not be that serious about getting their kitchen faucet replaced, right? And they're calling you, and when you come out to their house and you give them a price and they hear how much it costs because they have no idea, they're just kind of like, I'm not really that serious about it. I'm not serious enough to spend this much money on it, okay? So if you have a $96 charge to come out and give them an estimate to fix something that they're not that serious about getting fixed, then you don't waste your time going to their house to fix their, just to give them an estimate. Okay. That's all that's for. So the question on that, when I was explaining that, was, how do you word that over the phone?
Sure.
Like, what do you say? Because somebody calls in and asks for a free estimate. Do you offer free estimates? What do you do? If you say no, customer's gone.
Right.
So the reel that we did was just literally the phone script that we follow to a T at my company. Yeah. It was the exact stuff we say at my company. And And it's basically like when somebody calls in.
I got a question really quick. In that video, your wife is doing the CSR. Did she know she was being filmed?
Yeah.
I was about to think, I was like, I bet you Jared just sat her down in that chair and was like, hey, Crystal, can you just read this? Like you were just like, let's just practice this really quick.
No.
Okay.
No.
I just had to check. The thought occurred to me.
That's a good idea, though.
Yeah. Next time you need to do something, just be like, hey, just sit in front. No, I'm just doing a shot. I just want to see where the microphone is. Okay, now read this. Okay, now do it without the script. Do it again.
Yeah.
One more time. Okay.
I should do that. That'd be really funny.
Yeah, it'd be funny to see like
She'd be
the
pissed.
difference. It'd be hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah. So the answer to the question is when somebody calls, we answer the phone. Hello, Prospector Plumbing and Heating. This is Mary, right? And the customer is the reason. So a lot of people answer the phone and they'll say, and this is something my CSRs do too that I got to get them to stop doing. They answer the phone and they're like, they'll say, Prospector Plumbing and Heating. This is Mary. How can I help you? Right?
Sure.
That immediately puts it takes the like humanness away from the interaction and puts it, this is just about business, right?
Right. Yeah.
So what I think is a really good idea that I want to start doing in my company is, thank you for calling Prospector Plumbing. This is Mary.
Uncomfortable pause.
Stop. Right? So then they have to acknowledge, oh, there's a human on the other end of this line. Hey, Mary, how are you doing?
Yeah.
Is typically what the customer will say to you.
Yeah.
Okay? And then from there, it's like, oh, I'm doing great. How are you doing today?
Right.
I'm doing good. What has you calling in? Then they'll be like, hey, I was wondering, do you guys give free estimates? Yeah, we can help you out with that. Have we done work for you before? That's the secret line of, hey, like you have to take control of the phone call, right?
Right.
So that's how we answered the question in the TikTok to come back to your point, right? So if you just watch, it's just my wife and I'm the other person on the phone and I say, hey, do you guys give, how much is an estimate or do you guys give free estimates? And she's like, oh yeah, definitely. We can help you out with that. Have we done work for you before? And then it forces the other person online into a yes or no.
Right.
So most people say one or the two, yes or no, right? And then the CSR can then be like, oh, okay, well, let me look you up in the system or let me get your information real quick. And then she'll come back to your plumbing problem, right?
Right.
Okay, tell me a little bit about the plumbing problem that you're having.
Right.
Not tell me a little bit about why you're calling today or
Right.
or the free estimate you're worried about, but
Yeah,
tell me about your plumbing problem.
Yeah, because they have a plumbing problem. That's why they're calling. They wouldn't be looking for a free estimate if they didn't have something that they might want done.
Right. So then it's, okay, oh yeah, I do. I have this plumbing problem. Here's what's going on. Cool. We have an opening today between this time and this time. Does that work for you? You're in control of the conversation the entire time. And then it's like, yeah, that works. And then it's, cool. I got you down between 12 and noon. Technician's going to text you when he's en route to your house. Just so you know, we do have a $96 diagnostic charge. We do waive that fee if we do any work today. And then the rest of the line is like, thanks for calling Prospector Plumbing and Heating.
Right.
Click, hang up the phone. And that's it. That's how you would handle your phone call. So back to your point about the TikTok, right?
Yep.
They call in or they comment on that video. What did they say? Like, oh man, so many comments like, you don't answer my question. That's when I hang up.
Yeah.
It was
lots
funny
of,
because
lots of like chest pounding.
Yeah, super chest pounding. It's funny because I was wondering if anybody was going to like even notice.
Yeah.
Like I would have had to watch that a couple times to be like, oh, the original question was about a free estimate. Yeah. Oh, and they didn't answer the question.
Yeah, they just avoided the question. They just moved on.
You don't really avoid it. You just take control of the call. And it's not even you're not purposely trying to just avoid the question.
Sure. Yeah.
The reason you follow that phone script is because when a customer's asking you, do you guys charge, do you guys offer free estimates or how much does it cost for this? Or how do you guys do this or whatever they ask, it's usually because they're not comfortable on the phone. Like how often do you call a plumber?
Right. Yeah, sure. Like you don't
not
really
super
know,
often.
You don't really know.
You don't know what to
say or what to ask.
You don't know how the business operates. You expect when you call a professional company that they're going to answer the phone and they're going to take control of the phone call.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And they're going to get your information and they're going to get you booked on the schedule and they're going to get your problem taken care of. So if you do anything different, then what ends up happening is it leaves the customer feeling uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Right.
Like I'm thinking of like Geico, who I think has some of the best phone service that I've experienced. And no matter what you're calling in for, you could even be like, can I get a free quote?
It's a Warren Buffett company.
Oh, really?
Charlie Munger just died.
I know. I saw that Alex Ramosi reel. That's how I know.
Dude, okay. Pause for a moment. That was one of my favorite. I didn't watch the reel, but I watched the full length YouTube video. It's one of my favorite.
For Alex Ramosi?
Yep.
Yeah. I watched the full length too.
Because he talked about Charlie Munger's like dedication to simplicity.
Yep.
And how he would often look at, so one of the greatest investors in the history of mankind, right? Lived a very fulfilled life.
Yep.
And he would often look at an investment and say, too hard.
Yep.
No thanks.
Yep.
Not my thing. Even though it was a good business, would have made a really good investment, lots of money, he'd just say, too hard.
Yeah, good at.
I'll take the easier route.
He could say no to things, even if there was advantage in those things, because he had very strong boundaries of what he didn't want.
Yes.
And he just knew them.
Well, and he knew that simplicity, a simple business model that works, is always so much easier.
Oh yeah, and we're really good at adding complexity. Just as humans, we unknowingly add complexity to everything in our lives.
Yes.
Constantly.
And so, as a side note, since it just got brought up, to everybody listening to this that owns a plumbing business, keep your business as simple as humanly possible. It doesn't have to be complicated.
What are some of the ways that the business gets complicated?
People make it complicated, right? It's like if you have one customer that gets upset about something, or one of your guys in your business doesn't like the way this is going. And so you create this complex system to try to make everybody happy, right?
Sure.
That kind of stuff. Or to try to squeeze an extra penny out here or an extra dime out here. I would much rather have a simple business model. Like if you had a really complex business model and you're squeezing the extra 2 or 3% profits out. No, thank you.
Sure.
What a giant headache. And the thing is like when you start with something simple, just the nature of scaling makes it complex. The bigger you get, the more complex it gets on its own.
Yeah.
If you start with something complex, it becomes almost impossible.
Yeah, to scale. Because you got, I think the image that comes to my mind for the plumbing example is like checklists. Sure. Like in theory, it's a good idea because you want people to do all the things you want them to do that in your mind equal a job well done.
I think a checklist is okay in its simplest form.
Sure. And maybe in its simplest form where it's only necessary.
Where you have a checklist for everything.
Yeah.
And your guys are spending half their day filling out checklists.
Yeah.
You're just going to piss them off.
Yeah.
Look at, you ever talk to any plumber who worked at a Nexstar company. They hated it.
Just because it was like, we have a 27-point inspection list that your technician is going to go through.
Paperwork, checklists, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's important to like have a system and have a scorecard and have metrics that you measure, but those things, you need to keep them as simple as humanly possible.
Yeah. Yep. And dude, it's so easy to just keep adding layers of complexity.
So easy.
And because you think that with complexity, you think you're adding clarity. Because you're saying, oh, this is the metric I want you to shoot for, and now I want to give you some guidance on how to get there. So if you do these 3 things, you'll get there, and these 3 things, you'll get there.
So every time you go to a job, make sure and check these 3 things off that you did them.
Yep.
When in reality, you don't need a checklist. You need a better person in that seat.
And you need to say, I expect you to serve the customer at the highest level possible. This is what this means in that sentence. Go and do that.
Yeah.
How you get there, I don't really care. I'll know you didn't get there because I'll look at the reviews, or I'll look at the revenue, and I'll look at your performance, and then we can figure out. But you just get there, man. Just do the thing.
I mean, it can be, we could talk about this forever. But let's go back to your point, right? After Charlie Munger died, the simplicity thing, awesome. The TikTok thing, right? There's this disconnect, right? Between, so these guys are like, so if you went and watched that video and then you looked at the comments, you might be like, oh, I better not do this because look at all
these people that say it doesn't work.
Who are saying I'm hanging up. If you don't answer my question right away, I'm hanging up.
Yep.
I'm not getting put in your CRM so you can outbound dial me.
Is that what somebody said?
Yeah.
What a nerd.
Well, I mean, that's what we're doing.
I
right?
mean, I know, but it's just, that's the person who's on TikTok.
But so they're like, you see the TikTok, but the reality is so much different than the comments on TikTok, right?
Yeah, because what you said was, that number doesn't show up in my business, like something like that.
No, it doesn't.
Like you're like, in my business, it shows that actually works.
Yes.
Because if it didn't work, one, you wouldn't do it.
Nope.
You wouldn't tell other people to do it on TikTok or otherwise.
Right. And tons of businesses around the globe wouldn't do it.
Yeah. Like again, like even back to the Geico example, where it's like when I call in, if I'm looking for, hey, do you guys do free? Like I know if I called and said, do you guys do free insurance quotes? They'd say, let me get some information from you. Like they would just immediately, because they would have to like start figuring things out. And they would just start, they'd actually say, how's it going? Because that's what they do. They're very good at that part of that conversation.
Yep.
Just to then put me in the path that they want to actually solve my problem.
Yep.
Because again, at the end of the day, like your plumbing business is trying to solve that person's plumbing problem.
Right.
Not answer the question, do you do this or do you do that?
Right.
Like you have a problem, ma'am, you're calling.
Yep.
Like, this script will help you solve this problem.
Correct.
So let's get that taken care of.
Yep. Okay. CSRs are the most underrated employee in most plumbing businesses. Hands down. Mm-hmm. They're the most undervalued, underrated employee ever.
Ever.
I mean, in any home service business where you have somebody answering the phones, the power that the CSR holds is incredible.
Why do you think they're so undervalued?
Because people think, oh, they're just answering the phones.
Oh, sure. It's like it seems like a very menial task.
Yeah.
Versus you had to go to school. You've been doing plumbing stuff for like 8 years, and now
it's
you're
very technical.
Work. Yeah, there's a lot of writing on the line.
Gotta know how to use these special tools and
you gotta know how to whittle spoons, all this crazy stuff.
Yeah, all this crazy crap, right? So, and then you look over at the CSR, and they're just, hello, Prospector Plumbing and Heating, right? And they have to follow a phone script, and
relatively low skill threshold compared to the technician. Like they didn't go to college or schooling to be a CSR.
I would argue that it's not, to me, it's not the easiest position to hold.
No, but the assumption is.
Yeah.
And that's why it's undervalued.
Exactly.
Because it just seems like entry level.
Exactly. So CSRs have the ability and the power to make you profitable or unprofitable. Mm-hmm. Right there at the phone, believe it or not. Mm-hmm. They have the ability to shape or ruin your company culture right there. Mm-hmm. If they're a CSR dispatcher and they're talking to your technicians, even just in the way that they handle their business, they can shape or ruin your company culture. Mm-hmm.
Also with that, like if you're not aware of that capability, you're probably going to think it's something else before you ever think it's the CSR.
Yeah, probably.
Like you're going to be looking all these other ways, never realizing that it's the CSR that you don't pay attention to.
Correct. Yep. So just them having the ability to ruin company profits or make you a ton of money, that's a big one that most people don't even realize. And then the CSR, not only can they ruin your company profits, help your company culture, they're the first touch for your customer, right? They're the first part of your business, aside from your marketing. It's the real first human they talk to in your business. If that experience is poor, you're losing customers, right?
Yep.
So super valuable. So what I want to do is what was that guy's name? Somebody left a comment on one of our YouTube videos and he said, hey man, can you do a whole episode on what the CSR does? And that's what we're going to do today.
This goes out to that guy who we unfortunately don't know your name.
I can't remember your name. I'd look it up, but I don't have my phone on me, so.
Ah, man.
So what I want to do is I just want to go through like what the CSR job duties are and then how they fit in your company and how doing it wrong can ruin your company or make your company.
Yeah.
Okay. That way everybody knows exactly what a CSR can do and then knows exactly how they can affect each area of your company.
Right.
Sound good?
Yeah, sounds awesome.
Okay. So first thing we need to cover is what is a CSR?
Could be anything at this point.
Anything.
Literally.
Could be a
Yep.
whatever it is.
Keep it, no, you'll get it.
No, I'm sticking with spork.
Oh, spoon. Dude, it's awesome.
We got to work on your dad jokes.
That's not even a dad joke. That's just a legitimately more fun way to say the thing.
It's a Joel joke.
I'll take it.
Okay.
Works for me. I mean, come on. You'll be saying it later.
By the way, I went to the barber today.
Oh yeah, how was that?
Dude, I'm discovering a new affinity for enjoying getting my beard cut. Now, is that funny? Dude, it's like,
you're such a nerd. You use the word affinity. Dude, you don't
I know.
even, I can't
My
believe
beard
this. I'm rubbing off on you. That's just all it is.
My beard this morning looked like garbage. It looked like trash, dude. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it looks pretty good now.
Yeah, it's lined
up.
Dude,
it was like, bah.
Yeah,
And no matter how I brushed it, no matter what, it just looked like trash.
Yeah.
I go in there, he lays the warm towel on my face, gets his razor out, he's doing his thing, and next thing you know, beard looks good.
Yeah, you look like a normal human, not a scruffy looking woodsman.
Like, the difference is so drastic.
Yeah, like talking to Chase, like one of the things he likes about being a barber is he's like, yeah, you can change somebody's day. Like they come in looking like they live out in the woods and they leave looking like a professional.
Yeah.
And they're just like, dang, I look like that?
Yeah.
You never even knew.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah.
Okay. CSR stands for Customer Service Representative. Okay. CSR is short for Customer Service Representative. So let's go over their responsibilities. So they're the ones that when your phone rings, they answer the phone. Their main job duty is to book the job. So anytime somebody calls, like you really want to stress to your CSRs, your main job duty is book the job. Like get that job booked. And if you follow our script, if you want our script, it's in our Plumbing Business Playbook. You can click the link in the description of this video. If you're listening, you got to go to YouTube, find the link, or go to any of my socials and click the link in my bio. That'll take you there. Our whole phone script is in there. What's I going to say?
The most important thing is to book the job.
Book the job.
Yep.
The phone script, if you follow the phone script, you will be really good at booking the jobs.
Yeah.
Because it just does it really well. So main thing is book the job. But then within that, you have your CRM, right? So they are entering information in your CRM.
CRM is what?
CRM is your customer relation management system. Is that what it is?
I think management, something like that.
Something like that.
It's the program you use to keep track of your customer relations.
It is the program it's the main program you're using to run your plumbing business.
Yeah.
So there's, Service Titan, which is the best, by the way. There's a reason the big guys use it because it's the best. There's House Call Pro. There's Field Pulse. There's a whole bunch of them.
Yeah, there's Jobber,
whatever. If you want to be a good-sized plumbing company and make a lot of money, just use Service Titan.
Yeah.
There's a reason Gettle Air Conditioning uses it.
Right.
There's a reason all the big PE firms use it.
Right.
A lot of the PE firms, when they go to purchase a company, they won't purchase a company if they're not on Service Titan.
Yep.
So there's lots of reasons to get on Service Titan. But Service Titan is tracking, or whatever CRM you use, it's tracking all of your data, right? And that data is so incredibly valuable, it's ridiculous. So when you track data, and like I was just talking to my GM about this today, when you're in the day-to-day of your plumbing business and you're looking at a small data set, right? You're looking at the jobs that happened today or the jobs that happened yesterday or somebody didn't show up for work today or somebody called in sick or somebody's van won't start. It can seem like things are going very poorly.
Sure, yeah, because you have a very
limited data set.
Micro look.
If you can pull data from your CRM, you can use that data to really look at the health of your business. So you can pull data over the last week, over the last 2 weeks, the last month, month to date, year to date, quarter to date, last quarter.
Yeah.
And you get a much better idea of what is actually going on in your plumbing business. Right? If you're low on revenue and you don't know why, first thing you need to do is go pull data.
Right.
And go see what the data is saying.
Right.
And that will give you a much better idea into like what's actually going on with your business.
What if I don't have a CRM and I just have like QuickBooks or something?
That's fine until you get to a couple guys, but then you need to go get a CRM.
Yeah, but even like if I just have QuickBooks, like how can I pull data with that tool?
You can look at your P&L.
Sure.
Yeah. And I mean, a lot of guys set that up wrong as well.
Sure.
But if you go pull my plumbing business playbook, then it goes over how to set up your P&L as well, how to look at it.
Gotcha.
So you have a CSR that is responsible for inputting and maintaining the data. That data is so valuable to have a CSR that's in there. If she's messing that data up and you can't pull accurate data, that's a huge like mistake.
Yep.
It'd be terrible.
Or if you don't have a CSR yet and you are a company of maybe it's not just you, maybe you got a couple guys running around. Now who's putting the data in?
Yeah.
And what environment are they putting that data in? Is it you driving down the road or you after a job, during a job? Your technicians are experiencing that. Like, again, like having good data is imperative to making good decisions.
Exactly. So not only is she responsible for the customer calls, it's the first voice that they're hearing. So that's going to set the tone for what that customer thinks of your company. Okay. If she does a bad job there, that customer's going to be like, man, I don't know about this company. They may still book a job, but when your technician shows up, they've already got a bad taste in their mouth.
Yeah.
Versus if she's super nice, very friendly, gets them taken care of, leaves them with a great experience, they already feel good about your company when your technician shows up at their house. Now your technician, if he can follow up and do the same, they're like, this company is fantastic.
Right. Yep.
So not only that, but then they're responsible for booking the job, right? If they screw it up, if they don't take charge of that phone call and get that call booked, then you're going to book less jobs.
And chances are you're probably paying for those phone calls anyway. And that CSR is then really shepherding your ad spend.
Oh, yeah. Think about that. You're spending a ton of money to get people to call you. And the difference between a bad CSR and a good CSR, some CSRs may book at a 60% rate. Some of them might book at a 90% rate.
That's a very large percentage.
That's a huge percentage.
30% is a big thing.
Again, when you're smaller, it's not as big of a deal, right?
Yeah, you might not even really notice it.
Yeah. It could be the difference between 6 or 8 customers when you're smaller, right? But when you're bigger and you're getting hundreds of phone calls, the difference between 60 and 80% is a lot of phone calls, right? A lot of booked jobs. And when you're booking more jobs, you now have the opportunity to get to more, like you get in front of more opportunity, right? And if you're triaging your calls, then you're going to make more money because you're triaging for the opportunity, okay? So they hold the power of booking the jobs. Super important. Then they're putting data they're putting data in and they're managing the data in your CRM. Super important. That could make or break your ability to make smart decisions about your company.
I would say it will make or break.
So all they've done so far is taken a phone call and booked a job and entered some data. And we already have 3 areas that they could just completely ruin your company.
Sure.
Right? In the first 5 minutes of a phone call. Completely ruin your company. It's a lot of power they hold.
Sure. Yeah.
Completely undervalued.
Yep.
Okay?
Yeah, like, because we think about technicians being very valuable because they contribute directly to the labor, which is true. But without the CSR, they're never getting any jobs to demonstrate their value.
Correct.
Like, because, in companies, when there's a CSR, multiple CSRs and technicians, there sometimes becomes this like bickering match of like, well, who's more important? Like, if I wasn't here, the technician speaking, then there would be no money. And then CSR is like, well, if I wasn't here, there'd be no money either.
Yeah, everybody's equally important.
Yeah, everybody needs one another to actually survive. Everybody needs the business owner to like bestow opportunity. Everybody needs the manager and all these things.
True.
So if you ever find like within your company that there's this cultural moment where there seems to be this, I'm more important and where I'm more important, like just gotta shut that down. But guys, we're all necessary here.
True.
Like we all need to be here to show up to the best of our abilities to actually make this thing run
Correct.
well.
100%. Okay. So they're booking the job. They're managing your CRM. Now let's just get into like the day-to-day of a CSR. Okay. They are responsible for running your schedule. So they're doing your dispatching. So they're booking the jobs on the schedule. And then they are the ones that are handling which customer we're going to go to first.
Yep.
They are handling which technician is going to go to which job. And they are handling who we are going to reschedule. They're handling
even how they're going to get rescheduled.
How they're going to get rescheduled. They're also handling, when your technician is running behind, they are calling your customers and saying, hey, we're running a little bit behind today. It's looking, we have you down between 10 and 12. It's looking more like it's going to be 11 and 1. Just giving you a heads up. He's still going to text you when he's on his way. Just wanted to let you know. So they're like that scheduling piece, they're handling a lot.
Right.
If that scheduling piece is done wrong, it will destroy your revenues.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you're running the schedule to keep your customers happy, okay, if you're running the schedule and you're saying, I'm going to keep the schedule light so that we get to everybody, and I'm going to give somebody a time slot, and we get to them when we get to their time slot, you are going to ruin revenues for your company.
What do you mean by all of that?
So the way we run our schedule is, and I'll have to do a little bit of explaining on Service Titan. When you book a job on Service Titan, you can assign it to a technician or you can leave it unassigned.
Right.
So if you look at the schedule on Service Titan, every technician has a line. And on that line is, at the top is times.
Right.
Right? So every hour or 30 minutes is stamped up at the top. 9, 9:30, 10, 10:30, so on and so on and so on. We book everything in 2-hour time slots. So the average plumbing job is 2 hours. We have no idea how long that job's going to take.
Right.
We don't even know if it's going to convert.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
It could just be they had to go there and flip a switch.
Yep.
And it took them 10 minutes.
Yep.
We have no idea. It could be an all-day thing. We have no clue. Okay? So book in 2-hour time slots. So each technician, if you can imagine, we've got 9 technicians going currently. So we've got all of their names on the left and then 9 lines. And when we block out, it's a little rectangle block. Okay. We block out only one job at a time. So we go through our schedule. Underneath on the bottom of that is all the unassigned jobs.
Yeah.
So we have this giant list of jobs that we need to get to today. That we told the customer we'll be there between this time and this time. Giant list of jobs.
Yeah. And they're all assigned in the various spots where they should go, but they're not assigned to anybody yet.
They have a time frame.
Yeah. Time frame, but no technician.
But no technician.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So what happens is in the beginning of the day, we've got jobs in that list that we needed to get to between 8 and 10. What my CSRs do is they go through that list and they handpick the jobs that they think are gonna be the most profitable.
Right.
Right. The high revenue driving jobs. So they're looking
from
for
the whole day
things
or just for that first time slot?
for the whole day.
Gotcha.
They're going through the whole day. Like if there's somebody who has their water heaters leaking, they have no hot water.
Right.
They have a water pump that's out. Anything with a pressure tank.
Right.
Anything with a cracked boiler. Anything that involves large equipment, we're trying to get to it as fast as we can.
Right.
Because those are the jobs that are likely going to make us the most money.
Right.
Right. So we're trying to stack the deck in our favor to get to the highest revenue jobs so we can make the most money possible. Okay. If you don't do this, your revenue will suffer.
Yeah.
And it can mean the difference between profitable and non-profitable.
Yeah.
You could stack the deck with a bunch of crappy jobs and you will make no money.
Yeah. You could just stack the deck with just first come, first serve? Like you would just look at it like, well, this is the schedule, how they
First
called
come,
in.
first serve.
This is how it is. And
So what ends up happening then is like somebody calls in for a water heater and it's 8:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And you don't have anything till the end of the day. They're on the phone calling somebody else.
Yeah, for sure.
They want that sucker fixed.
Yeah.
Right? And so if you say, yeah, we can get you in between 2 and 4, or we can get you in tomorrow at 8 a.m., they're like, I don't want to wait that long.
Right.
They're calling somebody else.
Right.
So you just lost that opportunity to go do that job. Also, if you schedule at the end of the day, what are the chances that the 3 jobs that need to get done before them are going to run long, and now you have to reschedule the water heater?
Right.
That's a really, that's a high pain point for a customer, right?
Right.
They have no hot water. We want to get there and get that taken care of.
Right.
Versus a customer who maybe they just want a faucet replaced in their bathroom.
Yep.
You can still make decent money on that.
Yep.
But it's not as high of a pain point. So
Right.
to reschedule them isn't as big of a deal.
And honestly, like, you don't really know that customer's relative pain point level until you talk to them.
Right.
Like, they could be like the job description could be like, oh, dang, this guy doesn't have any water. This is terrible. You call him up and the guy's like, huh? No, actually works better to go tomorrow anyway. Like, maybe, I mean, obviously that's like a high profiting job. Maybe for whatever reason you call them, right? And they're just like, oh yeah, I'm not even in town actually. It was just this person who called. I don't know. Yeah, tomorrow's totally fine.
Yeah.
Like, you just don't know until you have the conversation with the people.
Yeah, as far as when it comes to actually having to reschedule people at the end of the day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are times where you have, we have too many jobs. We can't get to them all. So we get to the most profitable ones and we move the least profitable ones over to the next day. So at the end of the day, when we're seeing like, okay, we're definitely not going to get to these jobs here.
Right.
Those are the ones that get moved to the next day.
Right.
So it's and so you can imagine the CSRs are going, okay, what are the highest priority jobs in this list? And then they're going, who's the best person to send to this job?
Yeah.
Who's the most likely to convert this?
Now, are they doing this at the end of the day or the beginning of the day?
Beginning of the day. Okay. They might set up like tomorrow's
First
time slot at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But then in the morning, they need to go right back through that list.
Sure.
And make sure they got it right. Go through their voicemails, right? Or if you use an after hours service, somebody may have gotten booked overnight. That's a really high priority job that you want to jump on right away, right? So they're doing all of that dance, right?
Yeah.
They are making that dance happen. And that is an incredibly important dance.
And even if you think about it from like, you just got 2 to 3 calls per day on average. You're a one truck chuck. At this moment, that CSR can perform that function for you.
Yeah.
Which then, especially when you're small like that, could really make the difference between you being profitable.
Oh yeah.
Because chances are, like, if it's just you in the truck answering the phones, you're probably not going to have the presence of mind or the time or the bandwidth to be like, okay, let me triage my own schedule really quick.
Yep.
Let me look at the schedule while I'm talking to this person to see if this makes sense. Like, you'd have to do that all by yourself. Or again, if you just have a CSR setting that up and running that conversation in the background of your day, you suddenly will just find yourself going to higher paying jobs.
Profitable job after profitable job after profitable job.
And you didn't have to do anything.
No.
You just had to hire somebody. And then now you're just doing the work.
Dude, the thing is like, if you're getting 2 to 3 jobs a day, like if you're booking 1 to 2 jobs a day, on average, just say 1 job a day, 20 jobs a month, and you hire a CSR to answer your phone and run your schedule, it will change your life. You will be one happy camper. And then you will probably book more jobs because of it, because she's going to do it better than you did because you're out working.
Yeah.
Like you're doing stuff.
Yeah.
Getting calls from customers.
Yep.
And you're the worst person on the phone. Most business owners think they're awesome at answering the phone, but the reality is they're terrible at it.
Yeah.
They're horrendous at it.
Yeah. I mean, when you're out there doing this work, like, you don't know what position you're going to be in to answer the phone. And to stop, like, you're frustrated working on this thing and it's not really agreeing with you. And then you answer the phone. It's like, you probably don't have the presence of mind to be like, okay, I got to calm down. Answer the phone like a nice person. Hello. It's like,
hello, Prospector Plumbing and Heating.
Yeah, you're going to be like, what? I mean, sorry. What? Hello? Who's this?
Yeah, no plumbers answering the phone like that. They're like, hello.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my gosh. Like, how are you going to book calls that way?
Yeah. Like, they don't know anything about you or what even is going on.
They don't even know who they called.
And you're doing this wrong if when you answer the phone, somebody says, is this so-and-so business?
Yeah.
Like, you're doing it wrong. Like, they shouldn't need to ask that.
Nope. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other problem is, like, most guys, they're not even answering their phone. They're just letting it go to voicemail.
Yeah. And there could be tons of reasons for that. Like you could, just be freaking tired. And you're like, oh my gosh, another phone call.
Dude,
I'm so busy. I don't want to even think about this.
Let me tell you a true story.
Oh, I hope it's true.
I would look at my phone when customers called, and I would be like,
another customer.
I do not want to answer the phone right now.
Yeah.
I hate talking on the phone.
I bet you there's a ton of people who resonate with that.
Yeah, I'm the worst, because I talk with you on the phone. I'm the worst phone conversationalist on the planet.
Yeah.
And I hate talking on the phone. And so I would have to put on my fake self to answer the phone, and I hated it.
Yeah.
Talk to customers, hated it. Book jobs, track all that, do my own schedule. Miserable.
Yeah.
When I hired Joel's wife, was my first CSR. When I hired your wife, it was like, holy crap, I should have done this sooner.
Yeah.
It was one of the scariest things that I've done. It was the first time I ever hired anybody to do anything. I'd always done everything myself. It was how I was raised, right? I was raised to, we don't need to pay anybody to do that. We can do that ourselves.
Right. Yeah. We can make time for that. We can figure that out.
If something was broken in my family's house, we fixed it ourselves. Didn't matter what it was. We found out, we learned how to fix it. We went and got the stuff to do it.
Went to the library, picked out some books.
We did it ourselves. My dad is still that way to this day. He owns a pottery business. He throws all the pots. He does everything in his pottery shop. He makes his own website. He takes his own photos, learned how to use his camera. Like, he does it all himself, right? And so that's what I was used to. When I hired your wife, it was the scariest thing I've ever done, because it's like, I've been doing this, and I think that I'm doing it very well.
Oh, yeah.
And then if I give it up to somebody else, I don't know. It's like out of my control all of a sudden, right?
Right.
Now I don't have control over this thing.
Right.
And that's probably what it boils down to, is just control.
Yep.
Like just giving up that control.
And also, like, sometimes if guys have hired a CSR and it didn't work out, then there's this thing like, I did it once, and it's just, I've been there and it sucks.
They suck.
The drama, I just don't want to deal with it. And it's like, well, it doesn't mean that the idea is flawed. It means you hired the wrong person. You're just bad at managing that person.
It's one of the two.
Yes. And
I'll tell you what, if you hire the right person, they're a lot easier to manage. I can tell you that.
Those things do go hand in hand. They really do.
So when first of all, hiring a CSR is one of the best things you can do, right? It allows you to focus on being a technician,
right,
and drive revenue for your company.
Right.
And if you have 3 or 4 guys and you don't have a CSR, it allows you to be a general manager, business owner, and not have to focus on answering the phone.
Yeah.
And you can focus on how to make your company better, and how to improve, and how to grow, and how to drive more revenue, right?
Yeah, like any of you guys listening have had those moments where you're into a business, on the business related project, and then your phone rings. And then suddenly you're like, oh, hold on, I got to take this call.
Yeah.
Like, I've been on the calls with guys and they're like, hold on, customer. I'm like, I get it. And they got a call and they come back like, where were we? Yep. Like, imagine how much work you're not getting done because your train of thought is getting interrupted every so often.
Yep.
Like, that's
the only reason a business owner should be answering his phone is he just started out and he's not booking 1 to 2 jobs a day.
Yeah.
Anybody else in any other situation needs to hire somebody to answer their phones.
And then it makes the progression of like growing your business and managing people, like it helps with that warm up.
Yes.
To having more complexity in your business.
Yeah, and think about it, like, if you can get that experience out of the way when you're small, and problems that happen aren't as big of a deal, and you learn how to overcome those and manage people, it's going to be much better knowing that stuff and then starting to hire people and not having to learn that later in the game when repercussions cost you more money and they hold you back more, right?
And I think when you hire that CSR when you're small, you can figure out what they're capable of.
Yeah.
Because just recently I've talked to quite a few guys who seem to have a lot of office staff. They seem to have multiple people answering the phone, multiple dispatchers, office managers, like the overhead side of the business. I'm like, this is interesting. Like, why do we have so many people? And they don't usually have a whole lot of technicians.
Right.
Like, sometimes they do, but even still, I'm like, okay, so you got 20 guys. That's a good amount of guys, but you're doing, fair amount of new construction, these other things, but you have like 5 office staff of all different roles. But when you're small, you can figure out, like, what you understood is that, like, okay, my CSR, like, Ayla could answer the phone. She could input data. She could run the schedule. She could dispatch and answer the phones at the same time. And she could call customers to collect for past due payments or whatever.
And she could write thank you notes.
Yeah. Dude, that's actually when she got, what did you give her, like a bonus or something for that? Or like a raise? I think there was a raise in there that was like, hey, we'll give you a raise if you write out these thank you notes. I just remember
that didn't last long. No. It got to be too much.
Yeah. And then you got like the stamp machine that we used like once. And then when we were moving, I was like, is this Jared's stamp machine? What is
well, my wife started writing all those.
Oh, yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah. They can do more than, like, most employees can do more than you think.
Yeah.
Like, I see a lot of companies with fat overhead, and it's like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
Why?
And it seems to me like maybe you arrive at that because you didn't start with that person when you were small. And so you didn't grow with that person.
I think they just don't know, like, they don't have an idea of how simple a business model they can use.
Yeah, true. Because it's complexity when they're like, or maybe the way in which they're doing something seems like, well, you're answering so many phone calls, you couldn't possibly dispatch. Like, there's no way.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm sure there's points in your business where it makes sense to pull off a dispatcher. I just don't know, like, it's probably later than you think.
Way later. Like our CSRs still, we don't have a separate dispatcher. Yeah. Because it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I need both of them to be able to answer the phone and dispatch equally well.
Yeah, because
what if somebody's not there one day?
Yeah.
What if somebody calls in sick?
Yeah, like what if you have a dispatcher and 2 CSRs and suddenly your dispatcher's not there?
Yeah.
And then your CSRs are just answering the phone and then just putting the job, not assigning it to anybody?
Yeah. It doesn't, like, at where we're at, it doesn't make sense to split them up yet.
Yeah.
Right? And then if I was to hire a dispatcher, maybe things would run a little bit smoother, but would it be worth what we spend on that person? No, absolutely not.
Yeah, especially if you have a pretty good triage process to where everybody understands, like, what a high value job is and how to book that on the schedule and when to book it.
Yep. Okay, let's go back to hiring a CSR.
Okay.
Because when you hire somebody, if this is going to be your first employee, just write down a quick employee agreement on a piece of paper. Make a Google Doc if you can do that. If you can't do that, just figure it out. Make a Google Doc. You
should be able to.
Then you can share it, all that good stuff. Literally, my whole business is organized on Google. Google Drive, folders, Google Docs, Google Sheets. My entire business.
Yeah, I was thinking about making a Word doc, and then I was like, I haven't paid for Microsoft services in however long.
No,
and then I went
why
and made a
would
Google
you?
Doc. Well, I don't know. It was different conversation. But I wanted to for some reason because it's like a static object that nobody has access to and never changes, where Google Doc is like a living thing.
Yeah.
And I was just like...
But you could download it.
Like, in half a second, I decided I didn't want to do it because I had to go pay a bunch of money for it. And I'm like, oh, Google Doc does all the same stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Anyway.
Okay. So literally create a Google Doc of, like, CSR employee agreement. And then just write down what her job duties are.
Yeah.
And then, so it can be like, hey, okay, answer the phone. And then go grab our playbook and put our phone script in there.
Maybe, okay, before we get here, can this, like, because in this job description, can they work at home? Do they have to come in the office? What if you don't have an office? Like,
so
how does this work?
We started with at-home CSRs. And honestly, we didn't really have a choice, right? Because in the beginning, I didn't have a shop.
Yeah.
I didn't want somebody coming to my house to work. And so it's like, just let them work from home. There will come a point when at-home CSRs doesn't work anymore.
Right.
You need faster communication between the 2 CSRs. Like, we have 2 CSRs and a general manager in the office, and there needs to be communication amongst those 3 people.
Yeah, like immediate, local communication.
Like, I'm on the phone with a customer and I have a question. I can just say, can you just hold on for a second and I'll ask my manager about that? Hey, general manager, I have this customer, this happened, what do we do? You just you can provide a much better customer service, right?
Yeah.
Rather than, I'll call you back, or let me have my manager call you.
Right.
It's, let me put you on hold and I'll transfer you over to my manager.
Right.
Hello, this is the manager, right?
Yeah.
So there comes a time when you just need to bring it in the house.
Yeah.
You'll know. You'll know when it's time.
You'll know
be
because
like,
your data will tell you it's time.
if you're looking at your data, you'll be like, okay, my call answer rate isn't that good. We're spending a lot of time trying to communicate. Communication isn't happening like it needs to be.
Yep.
And it's causing these problems. We got to move these CSRs in-house.
Yeah, you'll honestly probably just notice a dip in revenue.
You may not even notice a dip in revenue because we noticed a dip in like when we knew it was time to move our CSRs in-house. Mm-hmm. It was like enough communication couldn't happen to get this, like we needed CSRs to do better.
Yeah.
So we had metrics that we were tracking, right? Mm-hmm. Answer rates, booking rates, all that stuff. And we were looking at the lost opportunity and how much we're spending on marketing. And and it's like, okay, and how well we were triaging, and we couldn't communicate quick enough with the CSRs or get them in an environment where they could have the training and the support they need to be able to become better. Mm-hmm. We just couldn't do it. But bringing them in-house, right? Now all of a sudden they're right there.
Right.
We're listening to their phone calls. Mm-hmm. We can see how they're operating. We have much more data now to be able to make this machine better, right? We didn't really see a dip in revenue, but we were trying to get better and we couldn't.
Right, sure.
And that's when we knew, okay, we got to bring this in-house.
Yep.
Just so that we can make it better than it is.
Right.
Because they're like for my company especially, like we're known as we are the, premier company, I'll say, in town. People know we're expensive, but they also know that when they hire us, it's going to be a really good experience.
Right.
We're going to answer our phone.
Right.
We're going to get to the job. We're going to get the thing fixed, and you're not going to have to call us back.
Right.
So, but when we got busy enough to where the at-home CSRs couldn't quite keep up to their job because we hired at-home, stay-at-home moms, right?
Right.
And the reality is, this stay-at-home moms, they're staying at home with their kids.
Yeah.
And it's cool to provide them with a job, but they have kids to take care of, and so you can only expect so much out of them.
Right.
And by bringing them in house, now all of a sudden they can answer the calls better. Right.
They're not distracted. It's like they're sitting at a workstation and they're actively looking for ways to produce.
Correct. And so what we noticed is like, okay, we were getting our answer rate because we were getting such high call volume. Our answer rate was dropping. They could never keep up because they're always trying to call people back.
Right.
And then they would miss a call.
Right.
Calling somebody else back.
Right.
It just wasn't working. So you'll see it in your data that way.
Right.
Brought the ones in house, got them trained up. We went for our answer rate is phenomenal now, which is awesome. Our booking rate is phenomenal now, which is awesome. Mm-hmm. And all it took was just moving them in house.
Right.
It's the only difference. It's just somebody that can actually has the capacity to actually pay attention to it and do a really good job.
Yeah.
So you'll know.
Yeah.
You'll see it. You'll see it in your data.
Yeah, but don't be afraid. Like you said, when you're starting out, you don't have a place for them to go to. So
hire them at home.
Yeah.
Right? Especially if you have low call volume, then they only have to answer the phone 10 or 20 times a day.
Yeah, it's a different flow. It's
an
not
at-home mom, stay-at-home mom is fine. And that's cool. You get to provide an opportunity for a stay-at-home mom that didn't have that opportunity.
Yep, especially in the dual income economy, you can help with that.
Yeah, very cool. Yep.
Would you, in that employee agreement, would you structure that one to be like, hey, at some point, this will be an in-office job? Would you put that early on in that employee agreement? Or would you just figure it might be a different person when you got there, not necessarily that original person you hired?
In every employee agreement that I ever make from now on, in the bottom of the employee agreement, the last thing it's going to say is, this agreement will change. When it does, we will let you know.
Yeah.
We will let you know of the changes, and we will re-sign this agreement.
Yeah, not necessarily exactly what the changes are, because you don't know.
I have no idea.
But just saying that it will change.
I would probably write something like, as the business grows and evolves, and as the market changes, our business will have to adapt in order to accommodate these changes.
Sure.
Which means this employee agreement will have to change to keep up with demand. When it does, we'll let you know. Because if you give somebody an agreement and you write in there, this is the deal. Because this is how this is how the employee perceives it. They perceive it as, this is the deal. It's forever going to be this deal.
Right. Yeah. I signed up with you and this was my job. And now you're telling me my job is this.
Yeah. This is not the original agreement.
Yeah.
Which I totally understand on that. I get where they're coming from. But what they fail to see is on the business owner's end, it's like, my deal changed.
Yeah, sure.
My circumstances have changed.
Yeah.
I can't have, like, this old deal that we had doesn't work anymore.
Right.
Because the customer's needs are different.
Right.
The economy's needs are different.
Right.
The marketplace's needs are different.
Right.
I can't have the same deal anymore.
Right.
So now we have to create a new deal. So I will always put that in there from now on. So CSR employee agreement, I would put, hey, this is your basic job duties. I always like to split them up between, primary and secondary job functions. So that way they know like what takes precedence over the other.
Yep.
So primary job functions for a CSR would be answer the phone, provide good customer service, book the job.
Right.
That would be primary. Okay. Secondary things for them to do would be maintain customer data.
Right. Like off the call, kind of on the call, off the call.
On the call, off the call. Like they need to go in, we actually have 2 of these accounts. Let's go in and fix that. Let's get them into one account. When a customer calls with, a change, they need to go in and make the changes. Updated phone numbers, credit card numbers, all that stuff. Manage the company email. I would give them the company email to manage. I would put that in there. I would also say emails need to be checked and organized into folders in your inbox.
Yep.
That way we can find stuff when we need it.
Yep.
We can search things when we need it. We know where it is, right? I would also include in there that they need to triage the schedule, right? So run the schedule, triage the schedule, dispatch technicians, and communicate clearly with customers when appointments need to be moved. And then let's see, what else would they do? Accounts receivable, handle accounts receivable. So now you have this list of their job duties, right?
What's accounts receivable?
Basically, if a technician went to somebody's house and they couldn't collect payment, now they owe us money. They're on our accounts receivable list.
Gotcha.
We need to call them and collect payment.
Yep.
Right? You want to avoid that as much as possible.
Yeah.
Always have your technicians bill the customer at the end of every single job. That way you got money in the bank. Okay, so now they got this list of their responsibilities. Then in that same employee agreement, then I would go down and I would list the first item and I would write what that looks like. So first item, answer the phone. Okay, answer the phone. Here's how we answer the phone at Prospector Plumbing and Heating. We need you to be, super friendly, very nice. Avoid words like we can't do that.
Right.
Instead, rephrase it this way. Here's your phone script to follow to book the job. So then you would go to the next list. Provide excellent customer service. Okay, provide excellent customer service. What does that look like? And just go down the list and type all those things out and flush it out. What you want that to look like at your company and what you expect this new employee to do. That way, when you hire that employee, you have a document and you say, hey, here's your primary job duties. These are the super important ones. You have to do these 3. These ones, when you have time, when you're not doing these 3, you do the rest of these, right? Based on whichever one takes priority at the moment.
Right.
And then here, I list out like how all of these things need to go down. So let's go over these and make sure you don't have any questions.
Right.
And you go over the entire employee agreement with them. You want to put in there like what the working hours are, how they're going to be compensated, how often they're going to be compensated, how they're going to track their hours or their time, all that good stuff. And then at the very end, this agreement will change, subject to change at any moment. We'll let you know when it does. And then you would have them sign and date at the bottom. The importance of that, let's say you go through all of that with somebody, right? And now they're not doing their job how you want them to. It's number one, it's been clearly communicated to them.
Right. So there isn't any ambiguity of like, oh, I never knew that was part of my thing.
Even if there is, it's like, okay, I did my best to clearly communicate it with you.
Right, sure.
And they're not doing something. Now you can go to them and say, hey, do you remember the employee agreement that you signed? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Do you remember in there the part about this? Did I communicate this clear enough to you? Because what I'm seeing is this.
Right.
Or what you're doing is this, and that is not what is in the employee agreement. Did we mess up the communication there?
Right.
Are you clear on what needs to happen or what's going on? Now you have an employee who's like, oh, yeah, I did.
Right.
I did. I do remember that.
Right. And I mean, even the way that you did that, I think is important because then you're giving them the benefit of a doubt.
Right.
Like you're trying to call out a performance malfunction, but you're doing it in such a way that says like, hey man, like I'm open to hear your opinion.
Yeah.
I'm not just here like saying you're not doing a good job. Remember you signed this paper. You're assuming that you didn't communicate something properly.
Well, you always need to assume that your employees are trying to do a good job.
Yeah. I think assuming the best is key.
It's super easy to like be like, these guys are all screw ups. They're just trying to screw me over, or blah, blah, blah. It's always easy to see the faults and the downfalls, and because those are obvious.
And even to assume that you explained it really, really good because you're awesome.
Yeah, like you're just so good at communicating.
Yeah, like
that they got it the first time, right?
Yep.
It's not going to happen. You're living in a pipe dream.
Yeah,
right?
and you're probably going to lose good people just because you came at them in a really aggressive way.
Yep.
Instead of like making that conversation something where you're giving them the benefit of the doubt, you're assuming the best, and you're learning from what they tell you. And honestly, you'll probably learn how you did mess it up.
Maybe, but maybe they're just worthless, and you learn that too.
Yep.
But like, okay, I had 2 instances with you. Mm-hmm. You messed it up. Hey, we can't have this happen again. If this happens again, like we're gonna have a very different conversation.
Yep. Yeah, put them on a PIP.
On a PIP.
Yeah, put them on a PIP.
What does PIP stand for?
Performance something plan. What does it mean?
Performance. I don't know.
Yeah.
We don't do PIPs.
Yeah.
I mean, we probably do PIPs, but it's not.
Yeah, you don't call it a PIP.
We don't call it a PIP.
It's a plan. Simply put, all a PIP is, hey, you've been underperforming or whatever. Let's make a plan in a time frame for you to get back up to step.
Too hard.
And then you say, this is what you got to do. And then if they don't do it, then you let them go.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, that just makes that process so much simpler.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
Just managing employees, clear expectations that you can always go back to and say, remember this?
Yeah.
It hasn't changed yet, so we still have to follow it.
Yeah, and that kind of rolls into like this is a huge conversation, but even like an onboarding process with somebody. Like instead of just like if you just hire a technician, you're like, what's up, man? You already know what to do. Go, here's your tools. Go do the thing. Like,
There's
he
your
needs
truck.
help.
There's your iPad. There's your tools. Go.
Yeah, yeah. You got experience. You know what to do here. Like it's not gonna work out well for you.
No. Anybody you hire, you need to do that with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bring them in, onboard them well, indoctrinate them into your culture, all the things.
Yep. Okay. So you hired a CSR, you got them up to speed.
What do you pay a CSR?
And it really depends. All over the nation, it's going to be different, right? Mm-hmm. Down here in Florida, it's going to be lower than in Alaska or California or New York.
Right.
So typically it's like, 35 to 55, 35 to 60,000 a year, which is a big range.
Yep.
But I mean, and then obviously it depends on the quality that you're hiring.
Right.
If you're hiring stay-at-home moms, right,
mm-hmm.
you can pay them less,
mm-hmm.
right? So that's another advantage of hiring them in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't have much money to pay a CSR, right?
Right.
And it's kind of a win-win for you and the stay-at-home mom. You get somebody to answer your phones, and she gets some extra income.
And you're not getting so many phone calls that it's this huge wait for that stay-at-home mom.
Right.
But you're still paying them for all 8 hours of their day.
Correct.
There isn't this clock in, clock out idea. It's like, pay you 8 hours a day. Unless you got like something obvious to do in the middle of the day where you aren't available. Yeah,
just be aware that that's not, if you want to grow your business to multi-millions, that's not going to be good enough. Right.
Yep.
It's what it is it's really not fair for the stay-at-home mom.
Right.
Because you at some point, your business at some point in time will have to expect more of her than she's capable of giving. And it is not fair to do that to that employee.
Yeah, because that employee if they're a good hire, which let's say they are, they're going to want to try to serve you and your company as best they can.
Yep.
And what's going to happen is they're going to sacrifice the parenting of their children to do that.
Yep.
Because they're trying to do a good job.
Yep.
And it's just going to be this conflict.
Yep.
And it's going to just be hard for everybody.
Correct. So just know that if you're going to grow your company, that will happen.
Yeah.
And it's something you will have to deal with. Mm-hmm. And if you've got somebody coming in the office, you're probably going to have to pay more. Mm-hmm. Like where we're from, minimum is probably 25 an hour. 30 an hour is you're probably going to get a better quality candidate. Mm-hmm. And I think that's probably the case. Like down here in Florida, just judging off some of the other businesses I know, you're probably going to end up at 18, 20 if you want a halfway decent quality, 25 if you want top quality.
Yeah. Yep.
You could probably even bump to 30 if you want somebody who's really awesome.
Yep.
Which, depending on where you're at in your business, bumping that pay up to get somebody who's really awesome is probably worth it.
Yeah, because like
having, back to our conversation about, fat overheads, right? It probably boils down to that they don't have the right people in the right seats.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
And it's usually because you're not willing to pay them enough, right?
Yeah, and so you're almost like, well, it's kind of funny because you're like, well, I'll pay this person $18 an hour to dispatch and this person $18 an hour to answer the phones.
And you could have paid one person $32 an hour or $30 an hour, and they probably would have been better than both of them.
Yeah, because they would have been like, dang, this is a great opportunity. This is good money to do a relatively simple job.
Right. It's so... And I've said this a million times, but I'm going to tell this story again. I was watching a YouTube video with Gary Vaynerchuk, and he's sitting down with all of his, managers in his business, and they're all telling him, they're busy, they need more people, and there's like 20 people at the table, and he says, if all of us here went to go play a basketball game versus two professional basketball players, I'm not going to name names because I don't remember the names. And I'm not a basketball buff.
Oh, man, you love basketball.
Unfortunately.
You basketball buff, you.
And so he's like, he says, if all 20 of us here went and played a game, first 1 to 50 wins, who's going to win? And they all are like, well, obviously the professional ball players, right? Yeah. They're just going to they're like 8 foot tall, and they're going to dunk, and we're not going to have a chance. Yeah, like, I can't even shoot from 2 feet away and make it in the basket, right?
Yeah.
And he goes, exactly. So you don't need more people. You need, let me go back. He says, what would happen if we added 5 people to the team? Do you think that would change the results? And they're like, no. And he goes, okay, we don't need more people. We need better players.
Right.
We need the professional basketball players when we're playing a basketball game.
Right.
Right now, we don't have that. Right. So getting professional people in your business is huge. I think it was Alex Hormozy who said, if you can pay your people 30% more than what other people are paying for that same position, you'll attract the highest quality people, right? And you can do more with less people. Right. So your plumbing business is a super simple model. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be complicated. Mm-hmm. Like let's break that down real quick. So, and we'll just use my business as an example. Mm-hmm. We do over $5 million a year in revenue. Mm-hmm. We have 9 technicians, 2 CSRs, and 1 general manager. Mm-hmm. It's 12 employees. That's it.
It's not very many to do a lot of. I mean, I've talked to a lot of companies who do less revenue with way more people.
Right, with 25 employees.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And like 5 office staff.
You know what their profit is? 0.
Yeah.
Right. It's super slim.
Yeah.
Right. So, and the only reason we're able to do that, right, is we pay everybody very well. Mm-hmm. We get the best people we can in each seat, and we're able to run a super simple model. The model literally is we advertise our company. Mm-hmm. We look cool. Part of it.
Yeah.
We advertise our company, right? We answer our phone. We book the job. The technician gets notice that he has a job to go to on his iPad. So we have a CRM.
Right.
That's probably the most complicated part of our business is the CRM.
Yep.
The technician dispatches. The CRM automatically sends a text message to the customer. The technician is on the way with a picture. He shows up to the house. He's in a uniform, in a nice van, with all the proper tools he needs. He's very friendly to the customer, asks them about their problem, gives them an estimate to fix it, all for the most part pre-built on the software.
Right.
They say yes most of the time. He does the work. He bills the customer through the CRM, and then he closes out the job on his iPad. The ladies in the office see he closed out his job, so they give him another one.
Right.
And he does it again. Like, that is our whole business model.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Extremely simple.
Right.
We have a general manager. We have 2 CSRs, 9 technicians. Like, our org chart has 4 pieces on it.
Yeah.
Owner, general manager, CSRs, technicians.
Yeah.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's as complex as you need to get.
Mm-hmm.
At some point in time, if we were to continue to grow, we would have to add complexity to that.
Sure.
A manager is only capable of managing so many people.
Right.
Right. So eventually, if we got more technicians, we'd have to bring on more people.
Right.
Or more management. If we brought on more technicians, we would need more phone calls, which means we would have to bring in another CSR. At that point in time, it would probably make sense to say, okay, you 2 answer, you dispatch.
Right. So
then it would
you
make
can
sense.
be in constant communication with technicians.
And this CSR is duly trained in
right.
CSR duties and dispatching.
Right.
Same with our dispatcher. She can do both.
Right.
But it's super simple. And so a lot of guys try to overcomplicate that way too soon.
Mm-hmm.
Like, never, ever, ever, don't ever bring on expenses before you need them.
Right.
Until you absolutely need them.
Yeah, don't predict the revenue that hasn't happened yet.
Unless you have to bring that expense on in order to create that revenue.
Sure.
It's the only time, right?
Sure.
So a lot of guys, when they when they start out in their business, there'll be one truck chucking it and they'll want to bring on Service Titan. And for no reason. In their mind, they think, I want to get this set up so I have a price book and all this stuff and it looks cool to the customer. But the reality is they could download a free invoicing app. They could use QuickBooks and then all the data just goes straight to QuickBooks and saves a step. They could write their estimates on a notepad and that's plenty good. And it saves them $1,000 a month on Service Titan.
Right.
That's one less job they have to go to if their average ticket is $1,000.
Right.
That's one less job they have to pay for to get in order to cover the bills.
Right.
That's one more job, one less job they have to do to actually be profitable, right? So I wouldn't bring that on until you absolutely needed it. Don't bring on a second technician until you're too busy to go to all your jobs.
And you have a CSR.
And you have a CSR.
Because you're going to limit the efficiency of that second technician if you don't have a CSR.
Correct. Don't bring on a CSR. That's actually a good point. So don't bring on a CSR until you have the call volume to bring on a CSR.
Right.
When you're booking 1 to 2 jobs a day, now you have the call volume. Now it makes sense to bring on a CSR.
Yep.
If you bring on a second technician before you bring on a CSR, that's one of the dumbest things you can do.
Yeah.
Because you haven't even maximized your ability to be a technician yet.
Yeah, exactly. You have revenue. You have not hit your revenue ceiling yet.
Yeah.
Because you have multiple hats on right now.
Yeah.
And you're moving slow because of it.
And you bring on that second technician without a CSR, and it's going to slow your ability to be a technician even more.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and you're not going to be that great of a CSR, and then you're going to be a worse technician, and then your other technician is not going to be performing at their peak because they have to talk to you to figure it out.
Correct.
And meanwhile, then you're going to be like, dang, I feel like I have to work more now to make ends meet. It's like you do because you're not doing as good as you were doing before.
Correct.
I just started making almost the same amount. Like, well, yeah, because you're not very efficient right now.
Yep. The biggest problem is that most guys will do that and they'll still be underpriced.
Yeah.
And so they won't even be charging enough to be able to pay for the guy. And so the only way they can keep going is to continue to just run themselves ragged.
Right.
And they run themselves ragged and ragged and ragged and ragged. And they either do that forever or they get rid of their employees and be like, oh, that's too much stress.
Yeah, sure.
And the reality is, like, if you bring people on in the right order and you're charging enough, employees lower your stress.
Right.
They make it easier.
Right.
That, like, it just gets better and better and better.
Right.
When I was doing everything in my business, it sucked.
Sure.
The second I hired a CSR, your wife, all of a sudden, life got so much better.
Yeah, you're like, dang, this is easy now. This is just working.
Yeah. Then I brought on another technician. Whew, life got better. Then I had 3 technicians out in the field. All of a sudden, life was a lot easier.
Right.
Like, I didn't have to wear all the hats. Then we brought in a general manager and a bunch more technicians. Now all I had to worry about was being the business owner,
Right.
which allowed me to be a much better business owner,
Right.
and learn actual business stuff and, like, think about actual business stuff. Life got a lot easier because I can actually take the time to understand my numbers, take the time to actually learn how to read my P&L, take the time to actually learn business things, right? Way better. The more you hire employees, the easier it gets. Think about this. I just recorded a reel today, actually, just breaking down the cost of an employee. It was wild. It actually kind of blew, like, I've broken it down in so many different ways, just from getting comments from people. You know, typically we'll take all the expenses of your business,
Right.
and we'll divide it by how many hours you have available to bill to the customer, right? And then we'll mark it up for a profit.
Right.
And it's never under 400.
Right.
Never. I don't care where you are in the United States or Canada, it is never under 400. You cannot pay all your bills if you're charging less than 400. You literally, and make a profit.
Right.
Can't do it. It's impossible. The only way you can do that is if you're out producing revenue. You will never get out of the truck under 400. Can't happen. So I broke it down today in a very unique way that I'd never seen. And it was good. It was like, okay, we have an employee. Somebody commented. This was so good because I commented like we were $500 an hour or something like that. And he goes, if you're paying your guys $30 an hour, it doesn't cost you another $470 to run the business.
Right.
And I was like, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have $470 an hour of overhead. That's ridiculous.
That's
right?
what his comment was.
That's what his comment was. So, and if you think about it, like,
interesting.
A lot of people think that a $30 an hour employee costs them $30 an hour, right? But
yeah, makes sense.
When you start like breaking that down, that employee costs you about $214 an hour.
Wow.
So, and then even more by the time you factor in efficiency, right?
Sure.
So the funny part is, like, you start with a $30 an hour employee, you add just employer taxes and workers' comp, you're at 35.
Right.
Then you start adding in like his van, his insurance on his van, his gas that he's going to use, the tools that you're going to have to buy him. Like, not even just the initial tools, just the tools that you're going to have to keep buying for him that he, you know, breaks or loses or whatnot. Then you factor in tires. Just tires on the van costs you $75 a month. You factor all that in. That employee goes up to like $80-some an hour. Then if you're a good boss, I would say you're going to give him probably some benefits.
Right.
Health insurance. If you're nice, you're going to give him a 401k. Even if you don't match into his 401k, you just put them like give it to him, put a minimum dollar amount in there for him. A little bit of paid time off, 1 week of paid time off. All of a sudden that employee goes to like $112 an hour.
Yeah.
Right. So he's costing you $112. What's crazy is there's people who charge $120 for their guys.
Yeah.
Or even $90 for their guys.
Yep.
Obviously, they have to skimp on something.
Yep.
Right? So one of those expenses that we mentioned above goes away, right?
Sure, yeah.
Then you start factoring in, so just take that, right? And go, okay, so that $114 an hour employee, now he's only going to bill out 50% of his time.
Mm-hmm.
He turns into a $228 an hour employee.
Right.
If you're charging 120, you are losing big time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right? So now you take that $228 employee and your business, typical business, and if you don't understand this, grab my playbook, link in the description. When you're looking at your P&L, you typically have 50% is your COGS. COGS are cost of goods sold. You have 30% overhead and 20% profit. That's typical plumbing business. So if we use that same model here at the $112 an hour employee, let's add 30% expenses.
Sure, for your overhead.
And 20% profit. You basically double the price of that.
Sure. Yep.
So that $228 an hour employee, he all of a sudden becomes a $460 an hour employee by the time you add profit to it. You're $30 an hour employee.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into that employee having the opportunity and the resources and the structure to go into somebody's house and do a thing.
Yeah, it's crazy. And no matter how you structure the math, if you include everything in there that takes, you will never, ever, ever, ever get below 400.
Yeah.
Ever per hour that you need to bill.
Yeah, my question to anybody who would say, like, there's no way that much overhead exists outside of that $30. Like, there's no way there's $370 of overhead in addition to that thing. I'd be like, why would you think that? Like in my mind, it's just like, I don't understand where you'd even... Like, I don't know where that idea comes from.
I don't either.
Yeah, because once you break it down, it's just like, I mean, when I talk to guys about it, it's like, dude, it's expensive to do what you do.
Dude, it's super expensive.
Like, it's an incredible amount of money.
Dude, I went over a hourly rate calculator with a guy last night who was in California. He's got to pay $5,000 a month for a tiny little shop.
Yeah.
That's a ton of money.
Yep.
His workers' comp and insurance on 3 guys was like $48,000 a year. It's like, where's all this money coming from? He's got to pay. He's in California. He's got to pay guys $100,000 just to get them to come work for him.
Yep. So so everything is going to be more expensive.
All the benefits.
Yeah,
right?
And it's so sad because like the plumbing customer has been trained to go for really cheap stuff, but what they don't understand is they're just hurting people when they do that.
And it boils down to the fact that there's not enough plumbing. There's too many of the one truck chucks running around doing work for way too cheap.
Yeah.
Because they don't understand what they're doing, right?
Right.
And they think that the people that are charging a lot are just ripping people off.
Yeah. They think that it's almost like this idea that there's like a hero syndrome where they're like, I'm the hero to the customer who can't afford big plumb.
Oh yeah.
But the reality is, it's like, you're only going to hurt yourself.
Yeah.
This will never be a real business to you.
Nope.
It will only ever be a lot of work.
Yeah.
For nothing.
Yeah.
You're just going to throw away time with your family, with all the dreams that you have in life that are going to be harder to attain because you're going to be working all the time.
You're going to work your entire life. Maybe you'll make okay money just for yourself.
Yep.
But that's it.
And again, at the same time, it's like okay money just for yourself at the expense of all your time.
Yeah, at the expense of all your time.
Like you're going to be like, oh, I have kids now. And like I've talked to guys who are like, I've got kids now. I can't be working 7 days a week.
Right.
I'm like, yeah, I know. And they're like, my kids are starting to grow up and I'm missing it. I'm like, I know. It sucks, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It sucks to run this thing. And like a thing that is, a tragedy in the plumbing business is you can do that and actually pretend like you know what you're doing. Like you can kid yourself and be like, I do $150 an hour and I make good money. It's like, I'm sorry that's your reality because you're being taken advantage of whether you accept it or realize it or not.
Yeah, you're providing your customers a discount to screw yourself over.
Yep.
And if you have employees, you're providing your customers a discount to screw yourself over.
Yep.
Or, I mean, to screw your employees over.
Yep.
Which in turn is screwing you over.
Yep.
I love, there was that one reel by Tommy Mello that we kind of remade on one of ours where he was at a convention and he's talking in front of a bunch of people and garage door people. And he goes, who here is charging, I don't know garage door parts, but some part he says, who here is charging $5,000 for this part.
Right.
And some of the people in the congregation raise their
Congregation.
hand. Yeah. What? Not at church. He's at an event. I don't know what you call it.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then he's like, the audience.
Yeah, there we go. That's
so
the
he's
one.
like, how many people are charging $7,000? And a few less people raise their hand. And he goes, how many people are charging $10,000? And like one or two hands go up, and he's like, we charge $12,000 at my company for this part. And he said that afterwards, somebody came up to him. They're like, how do you sleep at night charging $12,000 for that part? And he goes, he just looks him in the eye and he says, tell me about how much your employees make per hour. Tell me about their 401k that they have. Tell me about their health insurance that you're paying for. Tell me about the kind of tires your CSR has on her car. Tell me she doesn't have to worry about her kids driving around with crappy tires in the wintertime.
Right.
He goes, how do you sleep at night?
Right.
How do you sleep at night not charging $12,000 for that? Not providing for your employees. Such a great way to put it.
Yep.
They are discounting their customer to screw over their own employees.
Yep.
That's a terrible way to do it.
Yeah.
It's a terrible way to do business.
And a lot of the times when guys are experiencing like business is really hard and managing people sucks and all this stuff, a large product of that is because you've been undercharging the whole time. So you haven't been able to actually build a company where you can demonstrate you actually care about your employees.
You can't.
Because you have to first pay them well.
You don't have the money.
Yeah.
You can't do anything for them. Nothing.
Like you don't have a time to like build a good business culture because you're out there grinding to keep the lights on.
Yep.
Like you yourself personally.
Yep.
Like if you find yourself in this position where you can't get out of the truck and you keep slipping back into it, the first thing you need to think about is like, well, what are you charging?
Yeah.
Like you're probably not charging enough. And that's why every time you leave the truck, suddenly your overhead column on your P&L shoots way up.
Yep.
Your labor just, goes down.
Yep.
And then the whole balance is off.
Yep. I want to address a comment we had on one of my YouTube videos, and it goes out to Brass House. Brass House comments on a lot of our stuff. And he seems like he likes us, but he doesn't quite agree with our business model. To Brass House, I went and watched some of your videos. Seems like a really nice guy. He said he didn't think you could go out and charge $400 an hour right off the bat because he didn't think that you had the value that the big shops have, right? And that because you don't have the value that you won't be able to charge $400 and get it, right?
You won't be able to actually sell those jobs.
You won't actually be able to sell those jobs. And I see where he's coming from. But I think what a lot of people forget, because I get this pushback a lot when we get people in our course and in our coaching program. By the way, we have a coaching program if you're struggling in your plumbing business. Grab the playbook. You can book a call with our team after you grab the playbook. There's a calendar there where you can book a call with our team if you want to get in. It's a great coaching program. We give you all the resources you need. You get one-on-one access to me, tons of free trainings, tons of resources, live
CSR
coaching
training,
calls, CSR training for your CSRs, social media templates, SOPs, literally everything you need. And then we help you one-on-one to grow your business. Super awesome. Everybody in there is doing super cool. Plus, you get to meet a bunch of people who are trying to do the same thing you're doing. So if that sounds like something that would help you out, go grab that PDF the playbook and book a call with us. But to Brass House's point, we get this a lot in our coaching program. They're like, how do I feel like I'm not adding the value. And that's why guys will go rebrand and wrap their trucks and get Service Titan and get their price book done, because they're like, that's how I add the value to be able to charge $400.
Yeah.
What we find is that I guarantee you, I could go put on a nice polo, make sure Chase does my beard nice.
Yep.
And I could go with a notebook and a white unwrapped van in any market. You could send me to a plumbing job, and I will provide enough value to that customer to get $400 an hour, right? So if you can go, you can totally do it 100% if you trim your hair, trim your beard, go get a nice polo. You can go get a used one. Doesn't even have to have your logo on it,
Used
right?
polo.
Just look presentable, and you can provide the same value that the big guys do when you go to somebody's door.
Yeah, sure.
You can follow the exact same process.
Yeah, don't think
when
that
you go to somebody's door.
Like those big guys, like it's still a business made up of a bunch of humans just like you.
You can answer your phone just as good as those big guys.
Like the value is delivered through the method of humans.
Yes.
So it's how you interact with the other humans that add the value.
You can be incredibly friendly over the phone. Mm-hmm. You can put them on the schedule. You can communicate with them if you're going to be late. Right. You can show up on time. You can send them a text message when you're on your way.
Right.
Even better, you can beat the big guys. You can call your customer when you're on the way and say, hey, I'm on the way. Do you guys need anything from town before I head out there?
Right.
Just be super nice.
Right.
You can provide better service than the big guys. Mm-hmm. Show up and knock on the door. Mm-hmm. Introduce yourself. Say your company name. Build rapport with the customer. Right. All of this is doable. Mm-hmm. Look at the situation that the customer has going on. Provide them with options. Get to the root cause. Mm-hmm. Be friendly. Be human. Mm-hmm. Make a connection. You can do all of that. You don't need a big company to do that.
Yeah, because again, the value is not in the tools.
Service
Titan is a tool, an iPad is a tool, a van wrap is a tool. Like the value is in the human exchange.
The value is in the service, right?
Yep.
You can provide the value without the tool.
Yeah.
100%.
Yep.
The other thing is like, there is kind of a real reality of attracting the right kind of customer, right? Mm-hmm. So number one, you can implement the diagnostic charge. That'll help you get in front of better customers. Number two, the way you look on the internet.
Yeah.
Right? So even if it's just you and your van, again, trim your beard, cut your hair, get a nice polo on, and get a picture of you with a fake customer in front of their house.
Yeah.
Right? And put that on your GMB. Mm-hmm. And you can look like a professional plumber, and people will call you because you're professional, not because you're cheap.
Right.
Totally doable. Mm-hmm. Okay. That's my rant for the day.
That's a good rant, though.
Well, it's one thing that I see that a lot of people struggle with. They feel like the value is in the tool, but like you said, it's not the tool that provides the value. It's you.
Yep.
You are the value.
Yep.
Your knowledge, your skills, your customer service level is the value.
And think about it from the reverse, because people know that the big guys sometimes don't have a good rapport.
Yeah.
But it's because of the people.
Yep.
Right? It's because like, wow, like this happened and I didn't like the way it was done and all this, and like, oh, like there's these things in it, or the service wasn't delivered in such a way that would increase the value.
Correct.
It's like they're doing the same thing. Like at the end of the day, the job is the same, and the one truck Chuck who's honestly trying to build this business probably does a great job.
We've got a guy in our coaching program who has 3 trucks, 2 employees plus himself, and he's charging $650 an hour, which is, I think he's the most expensive I've ever seen. And he has a 98% win rate on his jobs because he goes in and he provides the value, right? Not because he's a big company, not because he looks super fancy. Some of his trucks aren't even wrapped. He just looks presentable, and he does a really good job building rapport and providing value to the customer. That's it.
And those are all it takes. And those are all skills you can learn and practice.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you're not good at building rapport with the customer right now, that's okay. Yep. But you have to work on that skill. It's one of those high leverage skills that you need to master.
Yeah.
And why you're confident to say that you could do it is because you're very confident that you've mastered that skill within the plumbing context.
Yep. 100%. Cool, dude.
Cool, man. All right. Well, everybody on the podcast really wants to see that spoon when you whittled it. Okay?
I'll get working on whittling the whatever it's called.
The spoon.
The spork.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Whatever. See you, Jared.
All right. See you, man.